A mug of history. How did people drink in the Middle Ages? In the meantime, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Now let's start. In the Middle Ages, drinking was not a luxury. It was a matter of survival. In an age when water could be dangerous, wine and beer were safer choices. Not for pleasure, but out of necessity. Beer, in particular, was not just a drink. It was medicine, liquid nourishment, and a way to be together. Our journey will not only be a historical tale, but also a deeply human one. Because behind every mug there were faces, reasons, stories. In 14th century England, beer and wine were everywhere. Sold on the streets, in markets, drunk at home. There were taverns, alehouses, and luxurious inns for the very wealthy. But wherever you were, one thing was certain. Someone was drinking. And it was not uncommon to start the day with a pint in your hand. Many families brewed beer at home and often sold it to neighbors. Women were often the brewers, and production was artisanal, tied to the rhythms of the community. Even fairs and markets had stalls dedicated to beer. Under dusty tents, the scent of fermented barley filled the air, attracting anyone with a few coins in their pockets. But it is natural to ask, were they always drunk? They drank at work, at lunch, during religious holidays. Even children received light beer. It must be said, however, that medieval alcohol was much less strong than today. Beer was lightly fermented, wine often diluted with water. It served more to nourish and disinfect than to stun, at least in most cases. It was a delicate balance, drinking without losing control, maintaining a clear head in a harsh and unpredictable world. Some historians estimate that a peasant could consume up to 4 liters of beer a day. Not for love of alcohol, but because there were no safe alternatives. Beer was drunk in inns, real structures designed to accommodate travelers and merchants. They had staff, clean rooms, and stables for horses. People went there for business, to negotiate, or just to show off. A night in an inn could cost as much as a month's salary, and it was not uncommon to be robbed, as happened to a university merchant who lost the equivalent of 65,000 euros in one evening. Trade agreements were often signed between a mug and a hot meal. Even the magistrates established how many beds a real inn should have. It was a regulated place, frequented by those who had money, but also by those seeking news and company. For the common people, however, there were taverns and beer houses. The taverns were more orderly, with simple but stable furnishings, where one could drink both wine and beer. The beer houses, on the other hand, were more rustic places, often rooms of private homes where home-brewed beer was served. Dark, smoky, sometimes dirty environments, but full of life, laughter, stories, obscene songs, and so much humanity. Here legends were spread, alliances were formed, marriages were decided, or feuds broke out. Every occasion had its beer: weddings, baptisms, funerals, religious celebrations. At the wedding, the bride sold beer to the guests. At funerals, liters and liters of it were consumed. Drinking was a ritual, a way to celebrate, but also to remember. In some villages, beer festivals lasted 3 days, and on the last day, bachelors could drink for free as long as they could stand. The medieval church was not entirely against alcohol. Wine was considered sacred, and beer was part of popular culture. But it feared excess. Some prelates tried to regulate celebrations, especially when they took place near sacred places. Drinking in churches or cemeteries was frowned upon, but sometimes tolerated, especially if it was linked to charity collections. For the church, the problem was not drinking, but overdoing it. Many workers received beer as part of their wages. The stronger it was, the more valuable it was. Masters competed in offering the best beer to attract the best laborers. It is estimated that a farmer could get half his daily calories from beer. After a day's work in the fields, 3 pints and a bucket to carry home were the norm. Some farms produced over 500 gallons a year, a precious commodity, almost as valuable as bread. During harvest periods, consumption could double, and the quality of the beer became a source of pride. But alcohol wasn't just about partying. It was also about risk. There are stories of men falling down stairs, being burned by forgotten candles, being injured in drunken fights. Friends ended up fighting with knives over a word too many. Some cities imposed curfews, others banned rivers at night, but no one wanted to pass up that last pint. Coroners' records tell of absurd tragedies. Men found naked and dead at the bottom of the stairs. Women burned alive for a lit candle. And yet people continued to drink. Because in the Middle Ages, alcohol was everywhere. Not out of vice, but out of habit, necessity, culture. That's all for today. Let me know what you think of this medieval side in the comments, and subscribe to not miss the next videos. Bye.